Hey, what is up, everyone? Today I'm sharing with you guys 100 diet tips that have become very useful to me in my diet. Now, obviously, you don't need to use every single tip here. You don't even need to use half of them, but as long as you can take a few tips from here and use them, I think you could make your fitness journey a lot easier, or at least move forward with a lot more knowledge. Now, I'm gonna just get straight into it, but hope you guys enjoy. So, tip one is to set clear and realistic goals. So this is where you want to decide what you're going to do. Are you going to lose fat? Are you going to gain muscle? Are you going to maintain? And what you want to do is create measurable goals for it. So losing 1 pound a week for 10 weeks, for example. This is so you can set up a timeline, get an idea of how long it's going to take, and make it realistic enough so you can know what you should be expecting by a certain amount of time. So that's just a good thing, especially when you're starting off. Now, tip two is track your calories. Now, personally, I've always used MyFitnessPal. It's always worked for me, but there are plenty of other apps out there, and some people debate that there are better apps out there that can help you out. And a lot of them have paid services that can help you out even more. But basically, this helps you understand what you're eating, not just with calories, but also with macros. So it can help you add up how much protein you're getting, how many carbs you're getting, how much fat you're getting, or how much left you have for the day if you've already tracked some. And you can look at how well your diet is aligning with your goals, and it can make you more aware and accountable for yourself of what you're doing. Now, obviously, it's not going to have everything. If you go to a restaurant that you really enjoy and they don't have their nutrition facts that are public, you can just estimate or just find certain ingredients and put them together, or you can just eyeball it and track it as 500 or 600 calories. Whatever you do, for the most part, you want to be eating whole foods for your diet anyways, so you'll probably be putting a lot of ingredients together yourself that you can track pretty easily. All right, number three is aim for slow and steady progress, like 1 to 2 pounds a week. Extreme dieting, such as very calorie restriction or anything else of that sort, where it's just very extreme, whether you're exercising a ton or you're exercising a ton and eating very little. Like the show The Biggest Loser had this issue where they're literally promoting anorexia to people, and they were putting people on very low calorie diets with high exercise and marketing it like it was the right way and successful way to lose weight. And while there are people that can keep off weight like that, a lot of people don't learn sustainable habits, and they don't learn to weight at a sustainable and slower rate. And so basically they just fall back into their old habits, and they fall back into their old addictions, which leads them to burn out or to rebound. So what you really want to do is focus on something sustainable that preserves muscle and helps keep you motivated, because big deficits can also burn a lot of muscle mass, and a lot of times a lot of people want to preserve that, especially for their metabolism or just for aesthetics or whatever motivation is. So always try to go for a slower and more steady progress instead of something extreme. Plus, you'll just burn out, and a lot of times that'll make you want to binge eat later. So yeah. Four is focus on consistency, all right? Not perfection. You don't have to eat perfectly every day, all right? But just try to make healthy choices more often than not. Because one bad meal, or I guess quote unquote cheat meal here and there, it's not going to ruin your whole progress. Like, if you successfully diet off 10 pounds over 10 weeks, let's say, and then you have one really bad meal or even two really bad meals, you might gain, I don't know, zero point 0.2 pounds, half a pound, maybe even less than that. And you're still 9.5 pounds down from where you started, or even more. So sure, they will be little bumps in your progress and little stalls in your progress. But again, as long as you're overall more consistent than not, you are going to lose weight. You can't be going over your calories every day. Probably not even every week unless you're careful about it. As long as you're in an overall deficit the entire time, then you don't have to be 100% perfect about it. You just want to stay consistent where most of the time you're doing everything right, and maybe you fall off track just a little bit here and there. Do not chase fad diets. Build sustainable habits. Stuff like keto, carnivore, detoxes, it might work short term, and there's actually some people that can sustain that stuff long term. Also, like fad diets, like extreme calorie restriction, as we talked before, not sustainable. Can also lead into disordered eating, which makes you even more obsessive about this stuff. And it's just replacing one addiction with another. Usually, it replaces binge eating with like addicting on starving yourself. And then sometimes you can have this cycle where you're restricting and binging over and over and over, and you're not really losing weight, but you're not really gaining weight. So you're just kind of instead learn what foods nourish you and fit your lifestyle. A lot of people say this, and it's true. The more and more I think about it, the more I realize that these people telling you that it's a lifestyle thing, they're probably right. You need to just figure out what fuels you the best, what makes you feel the best, and what helps your lifestyle the best. Now, obviously, if your lifestyle that you enjoy is eating like every day or eating a bunch of like and cakes every day, then you have to kind of lifestyle, and you can make that gradual, or you can try to make it a little more sudden, but you need to find something that can still fit your lifestyle, but you can still feel right on it. So that's just keto. There's a lot of people that do well with keto and they sustain that, but a lot of times you will end up eating carbs again sometime in your life. And so you will want to build some sort of sustainable habit. If keto is not very sustainable for you, then you just want to find something that is. All right, number 6 is nutrient-dense whole foods. This is a game changer. I'm telling you, this made such a big difference for me. Foods that are rich in vitamins, minerals, and especially fiber and protein, such as vegetables and, chicken and stuff. You can also have fruits in there. They have a good bit of fiber and a lot of volume, which we'll get into. This keeps you full and energized, all right? A lot of this highly processed stuff has a lot of like sugar in it. And sugar, it kind of it doesn't make you feel super full. It also has a lot of fat in it that's like super dense. And basically what it does is you eat it, you feel full for maybe a little bit or maybe not even at all, and then it just kind of, you feel hungry again. Not to mention a lot of this stuff has chemicals and just sugars that you get addicted to, and it makes you want to eat more of this stuff even if you're not hungry, like if you're just bored or if you just want to eat something for enjoyment. So you want to eat foods that are richer in vitamins and such. Now, I was cutting and bulking for a while on a pretty dirty, I was still eating processed stuff, but I was kind of, my macros work, but I was kind of low on energy all the time. I just didn't feel right. I probably had a few micronutrient, but as soon as I started eating more vegetables, and especially when I was eating more fats and lean proteins, such as eggs, a more chicken and stuff that isn't processed, just chicken you have to eat yourself, not pre-cooked chicken that you just microwave, I felt a lot more energized through the day, a lot fuller through the day, and the fiber from vegetables helped me feel even more full through the day. And getting in healthy fats can also slow down your digestion and kind of feel fuller for longer. So getting a lot of protein, a good enough amount of healthy fats, and some fiber to help keep you full really is a game changer. And this made a huge difference for me. All right, balancing your macronutrients. Now, if you're trying to do exercises and working out and preserving muscle, you usually want to have each macro, protein, carbs, and fats. Now, your question could be what about keto and stuff like that? Well, yeah, I think keto is better for weight loss than it is for keeping muscle or exercise, because carbohydrates can fuel your workouts. And you get a ton of fat and a ton of protein, so you still are able to build muscle and have your in check pretty well, but the carbs will give you much better workout performance. But if you're not really looking to do workouts or gain or maintain muscle or whatever it is, then maybe you don't need carbs as much. But if you're trying to do exercise and weight lift, each macro plays a key role, and you want to find a ratio that's good. Typically what I go for is 0.0 grams to 1 gram of protein per pound, and you can probably go higher if you want to, but I don't think you necessarily need to after that from what I've seen. So for example, I'm about 130 pounds right now, so I would eat 130 pounds of protein, 130 grams of protein a day, and maybe a little more just to have a safety net, but that's not really necessary. And you get 30 grams of fat, 40, something like that, and then the rest is just carbohydrates. So just whatever works for you. It's usually a percentage, so you'll have to figure it out for yourself based on how many calories you need to maintain your weight. Personally, my maintenance is pretty low because I'm at a low body weight. And I think it's only like, my maintenance right now is about 1,700 or 1,800 calories. So it would be a little harder for me for higher numbers just because I'm not super used to it. But I can figure it out. It's not hard. All right, number 8 is do not cut out entire food groups unless you're medically necessary for you. So like if you're allergic or have a condition, cutting entire groups like carbs or dairy isn't necessary for losing weight. Now again, I've said this a few times already, but if stuff like keto works for you, you enjoy it, and you can stick to it, then by all means, do it and do what works for you. But just know that it's not necessary for fat loss. And if it's something that's not sustainable for you, then it's not going to make it easier or be this secret fat burning tool that'll be worth it in the end. So you just want to find something that you can stick to and that'll work the entire way. All right. Number 9, the 80-20 rule. I actually don't use this one as much because I just enjoy clean eating most of the time. But it's very useful for people, especially if they really like treats and such. So basically, 80% of the time, you would want to eat clean. So that's like your broccoli, your chicken, your lean proteins, your fruits, your vegetables, whatever. Your complex carbohydrates, such as, quinoa or oats or whatever that you eat. And 20% of the time, a little bit. You can have things that are kind of more unhealthy side or just the less bad side. Now, I think I said at the beginning of this video, you don't have to take every tip. So this is one I personally wouldn't take just for me, but everyone is different. And the reason is because when I indulge 20% of the time in these foods, it actually kind of relapses me, but it kind of gets my mind remembering how good these processed foods taste and how palatable they are. And so when I eat them, it kind of makes me fall off track. So when I eat clean, usually I can stick to it the entire way just because I kind of good stuff even tastes like anymore. So that's just me though. Now, number 10, understand that healthy doesn't always mean low calorie. So avocados, nuts, olive oil, they're healthy, but they're calorie dense. So you have to be careful with your portion control, even with nutritious foods like peanut butter. If you buy like organic butter that doesn't have like a added sugar and stuff, it has a bunch of healthy fat in it that can really help you with your hormones and it can really help with your digestion and whatnot. But what peanut butter I believe is like 100 or something, or depends on what you buy. But so if you have like 5 to that, that's 5 calories already, right? So you want to have a balance. And that kind of goes back to the 80-20 rule, where as long as you eat small amounts of things that are bad for you or things that are more calorie dense, you can still make it work as long as you know what you're doing and you're careful about it. Number 11, planning meals ahead of times to avoid, planning reduces your temptation to just grab junk food or order takeout. You stay on track. So for example, what I do is I will put things in my calorie tracker a day ahead of time or even a couple days ahead of time. I've even done up to a week ahead of time. Obviously, you don't want to do it obsessively, but you either want to have ingredients on hand that you'll use, or you want to actually plan out your entire meals and whatnot. And that's so when you're not sitting around being like, I know what I'm going to eat. I might as well just eat the chips right there. Like you'll plan and you'll have something that you can stick to a little easier if you already know what you're going to have. And that's why meal prepping is very popular too, because you don't have to, willpower or use any thought after your workouts when you're hungry and you're getting kind of cravey. You just know what you're going to eat. So yeah. Now I was just mentioning meal prep. Prepping meals in bulk reduces your reliance on takeout or convenience food or whatever it is. So cooking several servings at once, like you can buy chicken in bulk and cook a bunch of it. You can pair it with rice and vegetables, and then you can store them in separate containers, and then you can just heat them up when you need to, and there you go. There's your meal. This is better because if you need to get your protein in and you're low on time, you don't have to stop at a gas station and find whatever protein shakes that they're selling, and it's going to be overpriced too because it's being sold at a gas station, and that stuff is already expensive in the grocery stores. So it's going to save you money, it's going to save you time, effort, and in the long run. Now, of course, while you're making it, it might be kind of a pain, but it pays off, and you can save a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of energy and a lot of willpower. It has a lot of benefits, and I do this all the time. Number 13, a food scale. One big issue is that people stay consistent with their diet. They're doing everything right, it seems like, and they're just not losing weight. Or on the other hand, they're not gaining weight. Like they are eating more than they need, or they think they're eating less than they need. And they're like, I've been at this for 3 weeks and I am not losing weight at all. In fact, I've actually gained weight when I was trying to lose weight. Turns out they're using maybe too much olive oil, or they are just eyeballing what they're eating, and they're eyeballing 3 ounces of chicken as 6 or 7 ounces of chicken. And several days of doing that, it adds up, and you might actually be eating in a surplus, or at least just taking yourself out of a deficit and eating around maintenance. So just estimating, it can lead to calorie miscounts. Weighing foods, usually in grams, by the way, then you know what you're eating. Because back to the peanut butter example, if you take out 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, you can take it out using a spoon, but you don't really know if you took out a perfect tablespoon's worth until you measure it in grams. So just measure your stuff in grams, and you would want to track it that way as well. Cook more at home. Number 14. So you have more control, because when you go out to restaurants, they're not measuring everything they're cooking. And it's probably not 100% accurate to their menus. So what you want to do is cook more at home and control your ingredients. Home cooked meals, they let you limit how many oils you add. It lets you limit how much sugar, and it just gives you full control because you know what ingredients you're putting together, and you can control what you take in or what you take out. And it just helps it be a lot easier. And you can boost its nutritional value as well if you're able to control yourself. 15, make grocery lists and stick to them. All right. I have a shopping list that I typically get, and I can share that with you guys at some point. It's up a little bit because I like to have some variety, but a focused shopping list reduces your impulse buying. You know how you walk in the store and you don't have a list, you're just something like a mental list in your head. You're going to get foods that are healthy, right? That's your mindset. But then, you see this over here and, that's healthy, or maybe it's not even healthy at all. And you just grab it, right? Instead of leaving it on the shelf. If you have a shopping list, you will not be as impulsive. You will look at that list and say, I'm only buying what's on this list. Whatever I see, I'm not getting it. All I need is the stuff on this list, so that's all I'm going to buy. So when you're at home, you're going to be a little less impulsive as well, because you're not going to have all those unhealthy foods right next to you, and instead they're just left at the store. So you want to have a grocery list. It just helps with impulsivity at home and also at the store when you're buying things. Now shop the perimeter of the grocery store first. Produce, meat, dairy. What's really weird that I noticed with stores, and a lot of other people as well, is that the healthier stuff is usually on the outside part. You'll usually find the meat on the wall, side of the store. Same with the dairy, and same a bunch of other foods. And of course, there are unhealthy things on sides of stores. Like a lot of times there's bakeries that are nearby as well that you usually want to avoid. But you're going to find a lot of your produce and your meat and your dairy on the sides of the stores. They're not going to be in the aisles on the shelves. The aisles and the shelves usually have much more processed stuff that is a lot more unhealthy. Now, you will have to go down the aisles to get some ingredients and get some things you need, but you want to go around the perimeter first and get your things there, because that's where most of the healthiness is coming from. Number 17 is make your meals simple. Cook with minimal ingredients. Easy recipes, that's less stress and more consistency, and it has a lot more benefits. It's time and less money you're spending if you're buying less ingredients. So you just do grilled chicken with roasted veggies. Like literally you could just cook grilled chicken and broccoli. That's like one of the main things. Or grilled chicken, rice, broccoli. That's all you have to do. Or you could do ground chicken with some eggs and some hash browns, like some potatoes or something. So ingredients is going to help you, I feel like. And it'll help you stay consistent if you kind of get to the same foods. All right, theme nights. I don't use this one myself, but if you're someone who likes a lot more variety and you kind of have this way, then maybe having theme nights could help. So for example, like a Tuesday was the best I could think of. You can kind of make taco on your Tuesdays or whatever day that you want, and kind of have one meal routines might help break kind of the same diet over and over and over. And you can stay more consistent. Some people can, if they have more variety and more things that they can eat. So yeah. Number 9 is store healthy snacks are usually at eye level. Or usually at eye level, but you want to keep them at eye level. So keeping your fresh fruits, or your Greek yogurts, or your nuts, or whatever it is in sight, kind of open and easy to get in your house is going to be a lot easier for you. Stashing your junk food away, or keeping it out of reach, or just out of sight, or just somewhere else away from your healthy stuff is going to help you avoid like eating that stuff. Because if you live with members in your family that eat kind of stuff, maybe you can keep your healthy stuff in a different part of the house. And so whenever you go to cook something, you're not going to see all that tempting, unhealthy stuff that you might want. Number 20 is freeze extra meals for busy days. If you know you have stuff coming up, or you just have a busy life, you can make your soups or stews or your meal preps, whatever it is, and have it ready when the time is tight. And you can freeze them for a very long time, so you can keep them for like emergencies. So it's good to have like maybe extra meals for emergencies. Think of it like, fun. Like you have emergency money if just something strikes out of nowhere and you just need money right then and there. So you just into an emergency account that you have just ready. So, you go into debt or have an issue financially. Kind of here. If you have like these meals and all of a sudden a really busy day pops up, or you take longer doing things in your day than you thought, you have these emergency meals ready and you can use them. 21 is using smaller plates and bowls. Some people use this because of visual cues. If you have a smaller plate, then smaller portion can look bigger just by like relativity. If you have this large plate and this moderate portion, you have this giant plate with this kind of small looking portion by comparison. But if you have like a plate and put that same moderate portion on there, it's taking up most of the plate now. So it can just help you if you're kind of and you kind of shut. Number 22 is portion food before eating. So let's say that you have like a bag of almonds or something. Instead of just eating almonds out of the bag and then kind of had, you want to put it in a bowl, and what I would do is weigh it as well so you can track it very accurately. And then, eat all the almonds in the bowl. You know how much you had, and what. Because a lot of times you can be watching TV or distracted with something and you can just keep snacking, and all of a sudden 3/4 of the bag is gone, right? So yeah. 23. Eat slowly to allow your brain to register fullness. Now, I have a little extra tip for this one. It's, minutes, something like that, for your brain to signal that you're full. So when you slow down, your fullness signals will come in while you're still eating the meal. And it's not while you're still eating the meal, it's shortly after. Now, one thing some people do is after each bite, or after every couple of bites or whatever, they will drink like a gulp of water or whatever drink that they have with them. And will kind of only give the brain more time to register fullness, but you'll also feel more full because you are literally ingesting more volume during the meal by drinking more water. So that's going to help you as well, on top of just eating slowly already. Number 24 is very similar to the last one. It's putting your fork down between bites. So basically, if you are eating fast in between bites, just put the fork down for a second and kind of slow down your eating pace if you put the fork down each time, because then you're not immediately going for another bite after you just took one with your fork. So yeah, it helps you slow down a little bit. Number 25 is don't always feel pressure to finish everything on your plate. Like, listen to yourself. If you are full, save the leftovers. You don't need every single meal to be perfect. You don't need to ingest every single nutrient all at once. You can kind of salt more if you feel full. You don't need to force yourself to eat more at a given time, especially if you feel like you'll be hungrier later. So just kind of yourself, If you cannot weigh stuff, like you don't have a scale on hand, then try to use your hand as a protein guide. So your palm is like a serving of protein, right? The you can hold in your fist, or the size of your fist, is probably, of vegetables, a cupped hand, carbs, and a thumb for fats, because fats are very calorie dense, so you don't need that much in volume at least. So it's a simple way to eyeball balanced meals if you're kind of short on time. Now you'll kind of listen and remember it. Your being protein, your fist being veggies, your cupped hand being carbs, your thumbs being fats. You'll want to remember that if you're someone who is on the go often, or just doesn't really have a scale accessible. Or if you're just choosing not to use a scale, this should help you out more if you're really against using a scale for whatever reason. Number 27, learn visual cues for estimating serving sizes. So for example, 1 cup of rice is about the size of a baseball. A tablespoon of peanut butter, again, is the size of your thumb. But let's say that maybe you don't visualize super well with just your hand, but like let's say you've played baseball for like 10 years, right? You know what a baseball looks like your hand, ironically. Even if you can't use your hand very well to kind of, if you know what a baseball looks like, you know what a baseball feels like, you can just use that same measurement for something like a cup of rice. So you can learn more visual cues than just like your hand, right? So yeah, that's just kind of a tip before that. Skipping meals leading to overeating for number 28. If you skip meals, especially if you ate a lot and you're like, oh, I'm going to skip my next meal to make up for it, that can just bring your hunger hormones even higher. And then all of a sudden, you're losing control. And then you binge later in the day because you decide to skip a meal and your hormones wanted you to eat a lot more later on because it kind of felt like it was being starved earlier or whatever. Especially if you're doing this for long periods of time where you're skipping meals back to back, like several days in a row, it's going to be very hard to resist and your willpower is going to be put to the test and you're probably going to fail. It's very hard to stick to that. So you should just not skip meals, especially if you're trying to restrict yourself. Now, if you really don't feel like eating because you feel sick or you're just really not hungry, then maybe it's fine. But if you're skipping meals because you're trying to restrict yourself or make up, quote unquote, for something that you did before, it might just end up making it worse. Eat until you're satisfied, not stuffed. This kind of goes with that tip earlier about paying attention to your hunger cues, but pay attention to your fullness cues. If you're comfortably full, you don't have to keep going till you're stuffed. A lot of people feed themselves until they're stuffed because they feel stuffed. They feel very, but you don't have to go that far. If you're just full and your hunger is gone, that's really all you're going to need. Number 30. This one I struggle with because I like having something playing. I just bored very easily, but this can help a lot of you. Being mindful during your meals, so having no distractions like phones or TVs. Eating can lead you to overeat. So if you focus on what you're eating and kind of your hunger cues, you can recognize when you're full, right? Number 31, including a protein source with every meal. This one is something that has been another total game changer for me. Protein helps keep you full, and better than any other macronutrient for keeping you full. Some would even say better than fiber. It's muscle repair and it prevents muscle loss. So if you are eating protein gradually throughout the day, I feel like you would have a little bit less risk of losing muscle. Now, usually if you get your overall throughout the day protein, you should still be fine, but it is a little bit better to spread it out, I feel like. That's just my opinion. There's some examples that I have on the screen there for you, but having protein sources with every meal, if protein keeps you full, why not have it with every meal so you can feel full after every single meal, right? So you can spread out your protein throughout the day kind of evenly. So like if you eat 100 grams of protein a day, 3 meals a day, you can have like roughly grams of protein per meal. Maybe a little more or a little less. Doesn't have to be perfect. Number 32, especially on a cut, choosing lean meats is very helpful. So chicken, turkey, fish, or very lean ground beef maybe. They're high in protein and they're low in fat. So it makes them ideal for building muscle without all these extra calories, right? Because if you're just trying to get a lot of protein in, you don't need to be eating ground beef that is 15% fat, right? Because you're just getting a lot of extra calories from fat that you're not going to need. So just try to find things that have a good protein to calorie ratio. Chicken is probably the cheapest and best example of this, and it's actually not that bad either in price. You can also do like eggs, egg whites especially. So yeah. This stuff is not super big with me, but I use it. I still use them. Like beans, tofu. Plant-based proteins have a lot of fiber, so they can make you feel full, and it helps your digestion. Putting them with grains can make complete proteins because a lot of times they won't have all the amino acids to make them a complete protein. I I don't really use this one as much, but this could definitely help you, especially, like vegan. You want to stay closer to the plant proteins. 34. A lot of people overlook Greek yogurt and cottage cheese. They're actually not too expensive either. They're very portable, they're filling, and low in sugar. When you pick plain options and also low-fat options, you can add fruit for more sweetness or a little bit of honey, and that'll also give you a lot of sweetness. Now, I like cottage cheese. I do not like Greek yogurt that much, so Greek yogurt just does not really work for me, unfortunately. I wish it did because it has very good macros. But cheese is pretty good as well, so I use that. Number 35, whey protein. It is a supplement, but if you need it, it can really help you. Think of it like a tool to hit your protein target. So if you struggle to hit your daily protein, let's say you're trying to eat 120 grams a day, right? And for some reason you are struggling, you can only get like 80, something like that. You can have a protein shake with like 30 or 40 grams of protein in there and immediately hit your protein goal just off of like drinking a shake. Now, a lot of people would want to stick to more solid food options just because it can kind of have fullness, or they actually enjoy eating a meal. But if you're short on time, a protein shake is super portable and super prep. And just a very convenient option. So if you ever need it as a tool to help hit your protein target, then like by all means, feel free to do it. So I said 0.8, but 0.7 I think is like a number or something. So 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight if you're active. That means if you're exercising a lot and you want to kind of muscle. If you're on a fat loss phase, you'd want to have 105 to 150 grams of protein a day at 150 pounds. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to stay kind of range, especially when you're getting closer to the end. You're going to need to like hit the lower end there, or you might actually lose a good bit of muscle over time. 37. Protein helps preserve muscle mass while dieting. So if you're in a calorie deficit, your body may actually break down muscle for energy, especially the higher your deficit goes. If you have protein intake, it can help prevent that a lot and keep your metabolism higher. You'll also want to be training. So if you're training and taking in protein, your body has the resources that it needs. And I think on like a level, when you are losing weight and not ingesting enough protein, your body is going to burn muscle to give your body the energy. And you will lose weight, not only from fat, but muscle. But if you're eating enough protein, your muscle is already getting the protein it needs, and your body's already getting the protein it needs. So it doesn't pull it from your muscles anymore. So it just pulls the energy from your fat, and the protein that you are eating is being used as the fuel instead of protein straight from your muscle or whatever. That's just the way I see it. I probably don't have the science perfect on that, but all you have to know is that it's going to help you preserve muscle mass, so just eat enough protein. Spacing your protein evenly throughout the day. Spreading it over 3 to 5 meals, or even maybe 2 to 3 meals, can help you optimize muscle protein synthesis, which is kind of your body's process of building muscle. So after a workout and when you eat protein, your muscle usually goes through something called muscle protein synthesis, where it's repairing itself, and a lot of times repairing itself stronger than it was, making it even more potent or even larger or stronger or whatever. It can kind of help that if you're having a very steady protein source throughout the day. It can make sure that your body is always able to do that process. And also it just keeps hunger in check. If you have issues with hunger, having protein throughout the day to feel full over several meals throughout the day is going to be very easy for you. Number 39. Don't rely solely on protein bars. I made this mistake when I first started a fitness journey a few years ago. I've stopped here and there, but technically my fitness journey first started a few years ago, although not 100% consistent. But don't rely on protein bars. I made this mistake. I bought a bunch of protein bars, and I'm like, I'm going to just eat a bunch of protein bars. And okay, occasionally, like if you really need them and you really need convenience, then it's kind of like a last resort, I feel like. Many are just candy bars that are kind of this healthy or protein label on it, and they mark up the price too. So read these labels and use them for like absolute, not as a staple of your diet. All right, because I made this mistake. I went to stores and I bought a bunch of protein bars, and I bought them in bulk too. And then I just was like relying on protein bars to get a lot of my protein in. And I was not full throughout the day, despite getting a lot of protein, because I wasn't eating a lot of food volume. So I was just eating these little bars throughout the day. So they helped me feel kind of full, but not as full as eating kind of a well-rounded and whole food diet. And they're kind of, so you just want to stay away from them. But if you need them, then you can use them, but occasionally, right? Number 40, eggs or egg whites for a budget-friendly protein source. Now this is kind of a place right now, but eggs have a lot of nutrients and they're high in protein. And recent years, they had been very cheap. You could buy a lot of eggs for a pretty low price. And from what I understand, the price is going back down now, but the price has went up significantly with, so perhaps this tip won't be as good for you in the moment, but in the future, it might be something to consider. And egg whites are very lean and have a ton of protein without all the added fat from the yolk. So you could buy carton egg whites and that'll increase the protein a lot and reduce fat. As we see the prices go down, hopefully, that's what I'm seeing so far at least. This could actually become very useful, and eggs are very, very for nutrition. So it can help you a lot with your vitamins and whatnot. 41, carbs are not the devil. You can use carbs. A lot of these diets are like, cut carbs. If you cut carbs, you're going to lose a lot of weight. It's going to speed up your fat loss. It's not true. You might lose a lot of water initially because carbs hold on to more water in your body. So if you eat less carbs, your body will hold on to less water. Therefore, your body will have less water weight. Therefore, you may appear like you lost a lot of fat, but you actually just lost a lot of water and a little bit of fat. Complex carbs can provide very steady energy, very good fiber, and nutrients. They help fuel your workouts. They give you a lot more energy during your workouts, and they support your recovery. They help your body repair itself on top of what protein does for your body. So carbs are not the devil. They can actually be very useful, and a lot of times you might actually have a much harder time if you cut them out. Cutting them out is not going to make your fat loss any quicker. It's not going to make it, going to speed things up or whatever, like people like to say. It is kind of a lie in the industry. And I feel like a lot of people interpret data around it very unfairly because they see a huge weight drop when people stop eating carbs, and they tend to not really understand or not really look at the fact that a lot of that is usually water from initial weight. And then after that, your weight loss slows down to a regular rate as anyone else on any other diet. So don't be afraid of carbs. 42. Now on that note, refined carbs. You want to be careful of them. White bread, sugary snacks, stuff like that. These can spike your blood sugar, which can then in turn crash your energy and make your cravings worse. You want to reserve eating refined carbs unless you have these occasional treats, or if you just need some really quick digested carbs right after you're done with a workout, or if you just need them for convenience, very rarely. Some people will eat Rice Krispie treats, which are very processed carbs, but they'll do that because they digest very fast, which means it's a very quick burst of energy, and they usually do it right before a workout when they need a quick burst of energy. But it's better to just limit these as best as you can. You can eat wheat bread, but white bread is a little different because there is less fiber and just less nutrients. So you want to be careful because you could actually end up messing up your energy on these carbs. So just be careful with what kind of carbs you're eating. But there are very good carbs, and there are carbs that can make you struggle a little more. 43. Healthy fats. I know they're calorie dense, but they are important. Avocado, olive oil, nuts, things like peanut butter, they can help your brain function. They're in a lot of eggs. So you might get enough fat just from eggs there if you eat enough eggs. But your brain functions better, your hormones function better, and your satisfaction after meals are better. And a lot of times it can slow your digestion. So it can make your meals kind of stick around more and you can feel fuller. You want to keep the portions moderate though because they're calorie dense, but they can actually very much help you out. And if you actually eat a low-fat diet for a long enough time, it can really mess up your brain, and just your satisfaction with life. You must feel more down all the time, and body is not producing hormones correctly, so your emotions and your mood is not kept in check that well. Number 44, dietary fat. Again, don't fear it. It's essential. Eating fat doesn't make you fat unless you eat too much of it. but that's the same with any other kind of food. Your body needs it for, your production, like testosterone and stuff, brain health. It's the same thing I was saying before. It's just a little more detail. Number 45. If you want to use tools like carb cycling, it can be useful, especially if you're advanced. If you're more experienced, you can vary your carb intake based on training days. So eat higher carbs for more energy on workout days and then lower on rest days. Sometimes people find that this helps them perform better or that they burn actual body fat better. Not faster, but it just makes the process easier for them. It's just a different approach, that's all. 46. Deep fried foods. I was just at a restaurant today and there was a bunch of fried food on the menu and I immediately skipped over it and went right for the grilled stuff. Baked, grilled, or steamed is much better because deep frying has a ton of fat and the breading has a ton of carbohydrates, which also means a ton of calories. You can get healthier cooking methods such as baking or grilling or steaming, and it'll be a lot better for you. All right. If you're eating like fried, you're getting a lot of fat and a lot of carbs and a pretty good amount of protein. But if you're eating grilled chicken, you're getting a little bit of fat, not really any carbs at all, and a lot of protein. And then you can just pair it with a healthier carb source and it'll make your meal a lot more satisfying in the long run. The only difference is that maybe in the short term, you might enjoy the meal more just because it tastes better. But in the long run, it's probably not worth it. Number 47. Whole fruits are better than fruit juices. All right. A lot of people hear that, oh, I can eat fruits, and then they drink apple juice or something, or grape juice, right? But whole fruits contain fiber that slows their sugar absorption because a lot of fruits have natural sugar in them and increases fullness. Juices often take out that fiber through their processing and they spike blood sugar because they usually add a lot of sugar that isn't even necessary. And so what they really turn into is pretty much these sodas almost, just without the carbonation or whatever. But nutritionally, they're not that different. So, fight me on that, be very technical on that. But overall, these juices are not going to help you. And they're not going to give you a lot of nutrients that you would get from eating whole fruits. Fruits are not processed and not tampered with nearly as much. Now, this one, again, if keto works for you, then feel free to skip over this one. But what's really good, especially if you're working out, don't eliminate your carbs. Your carbs can be, glucose, and your brain and muscles usually need that stuff. Low carb can work, like I said, but a lot of times if you are hooked to carbs or your brain likes carbs a lot, you can actually end up binging if you stop yourself from eating carbs altogether. And if you do go low carb and you enjoy carbs a lot, try to make it gradual. Don't just stop eating carbs very suddenly, right? You want to bring it down to where you can keep getting used to lower and lower amounts until you are at a low carb amount. 49. Choose whole grain over white bread and pasta. So you could get like wheat, right? Whole grains digest slower, which keeps you full longer because it has more fiber, and your blood sugar doesn't crash, so your energy doesn't crash. So you want to look for whole grain on labels. It is just very important for overall diet, and eating, might suck initially, but I feel like you could get used to it. All right, number 50. Try roasted or air fried foods instead of just straight fried ones. Air fryers can have a very similar texture without all the oil or the breading. For example, you can roast your vegetables to bring out natural sweetness without adding all these extra calories or frying them. Like make okra, no, roast it. You don't eat fried okra. You can just roast it, right? Or you can air fry it, whatever works. It can just help you really lower your caloric intake and help your enjoyment. Number 51, keep healthy snacks on hand. This is helpful for your convenience as well. So if you're hungry between meals, it's better to have easy access to something nourishing than just relying on your vending machines or fast food. So you want to have cut or nuts or fruits on hand for apples or bananas or strawberries or oranges or peaches or, thawed out or bell peppers, really. And those on hand. You could even do stuff like beef jerky as long as you're careful. So healthier snacks on hand. And one thing I will mention, and that I've heard from a few psychologists actually, is that if you can put time in between your impulse to access, you are going to have a much easier time. And by this, I mean have unhealthy snacks on hand that are in your house. You're going to be tempted to eat them. But if you're at the store and you have an impulse to eat them, you have to get in your car, you have to drive to the store, go and buy it, and then eat it, right? Instead of just going to your kitchen and grabbing it. So you have a lot more time to control your impulses. And so keeping healthy snacks on hand is just going to help with your self-control. And it's going to give you easy access to something good. And instead of relying on these unhealthy things. So putting time between your impulse to access is a little extra part of that tip I would add in. Number 52, portion your snacks ahead of time. Again, instead of just taking stuff straight from a bag or box, portion it. Put them in individual containers. So if you're someone who's like big on snacking, you know your snack on your diet, you know you want to, go ahead and get some containers for it and just kind of ahead of time. You can always do it at the time of snacking, but if you have an impulse to snack on something, you may just be like, whatever, I'm going to measure it. But if you already have it measured and ready to go, you might just grab the container and just do that. So that can help you out a lot. Number 53, boredom. Now this can get kind of dangerous. You need to really be honest with yourself. Avoid snacking from boredom. Ask if you're truly hungry. If you are actually hungry, then snacking can be fine. But if you're just bored and you think if you're truly hungry and you're like, well, I'm not actually that hungry, I'm just kind of bored, then just try to wait it out for a second, especially if you're unsure. And yeah, I'm here. If before you eat, pause and ask, am I actually hungry, just bored, stressed, or tired? And if you're unsure, you can just drink some water, because that might be the issue. You might just be a little dehydrated, and then just wait like 10 minutes and then figure it out from there. 54. Protein-packed snacks can keep you fuller longer. All right. Some people, they can do boiled eggs or jerky or tuna packs or edamame. There are other choices, even bars possibly. But instead of having these sugary or starchy snacks, use protein ones. Protein's going to keep you fuller longer. So instead of just putting protein in your meals, why not put it in your snacks? You can give your meals more variety too if you're not so focused on a high protein in every single meal, right? So yeah, this can help you and it can help your cravings. 55. Drink water before reaching for a snack because it might just be thirst. I was mentioning this earlier. Dehydration to the body can feel a lot like hunger. So have some water, and if it goes away before you decide to eat something, then hey, maybe you're just dehydrated. It's very hard for the body to actually tell the difference until you drink the water. Once you drink the water, if the feeling goes away, well, that's great. But if you're still like, I'm kind of, it's like, okay, maybe I actually was hungry. So yeah, just keep in mind there. 56. This is just one little food item I would try. Popcorn, air pop popcorn is a low calorie snack. Weirdly enough, popcorn, you can get a lot of weight from it and for a low amount of calories, aka high volume. It also has some fiber, so it'll keep you feeling full. Air pop is also satisfying for a lot of people, and it's very easy to portion. A lot of people, though, they go wrong when they add a bunch of butter to it. When they add a bunch of butter, they're just loading it up with fat, aka a bunch of calories that they don't need. So you can either go easy on the butter, or just kind of out and just, a better method, or just eat it, or whatever. And you can add salt, but just try not to go overboard on it, because you don't want to have a ridiculous amount of salt in your diet. But for some people, it can help. 57. This just goes with choosing healthier alternatives, but in terms of like chocolate, over milk chocolate. A lot of people hate dark chocolate, so I understand if you would want to skip this, and you can. But for me, I ate enough. It has a lot less sugar and more antioxidants, so it's just going to be better for your overall health. And enjoying a little bit here and there can give you probably a little less guilt, because you're like, hey, I'm eating the healthier alternative, and I'm still kind of getting joy. But this is just a tip. You don't have to follow it, but a lot of people, it can help them out. Number 58. Hummus with vegetables is a good snack combo, so give it a try. Hummus provides healthy fats and protein, and vegetables can give crunch, and it can give fiber and volume, both of which keep you very, and crunch is just good for texture with a lot of people. Then the healthy fats and protein are very good too, and pairing all these things together can really help. And hummus is just one of those things. You could also do like a little peanut butter with your vegetables, and you can get a very similar result as long as you're careful. Number 59. Like I was saying earlier, it has to do with getting stuck in a show or whatever it is. You're watching a show or playing a game or whatever you're doing, and you're kind of distracted, your mind is elsewhere, you're just kind of you're just kind of snacking, right? And then all of a sudden, like I said, you look over and 3/4 of this family-sized bag is missing. And you realize, oh wow, I was distracted. I just ate all of that, and I wasn't even hungry half of the time. I ate way past fullness just because I wasn't paying attention. So just make sure you pay attention, or again, portion out your stuff ahead of time. Leave the big containers behind, like the bag. Number 60, don't keep junk food at home if it tempts you. Like I said, impulse to access. If you have it in your house, all you have to do is walk and get it, right? But if you have it left at the store, you would have to get in your car, go to the store, go and buy it, which is spending money, which some people may not want to do all of a sudden, and then either bring it back home or wait till you get back to the car or whatever you do, right? So if you know that you really struggle when certain foods are around you or in the house and you fixate on that stuff, just don't make them accessible. Keep the stuff on the shelf at the store. Don't keep it where you live and spend a lot of time at if it's going to make you feel temptation. Number 61, drinking a glass of water before meals or even during a meal. Hydration can help reduce your hunger cues, especially if they're false hunger cues. And it can help you feel more full when you're eating and reduce overeating because you're literally adding more volume. Not only are you eating these foods, but you're adding more water to your stomach, which is filling your stomach even more. So it's just a good tip. You feel fuller for a longer portion or a longer amount of time. 62, sugar-free gum to curb your cravings. Chewing gum can help a lot of people from snacking. It gives your mouth kind of like this effect, right? And it can give you a bunch of sweetness without all the calories. Now, for some people, this might actually make you fixate on eating more, or the sweeteners inside of the gum might actually make you crave more sweet things. But for a lot of people, this can work. So give it a shot. If it works for you, that's great. If it doesn't, then hey, there's a bunch of other tips you can follow here. So number 63, brush your teeth after dinner to signal that you're done eating. A lot of people do this one and suggest this one. Apparently, it's kind of a little diet hack or whatever. And I used it, and it seems to work pretty well. The minty flavor of like toothpaste can make eating afterwards a little less appealing. And kind of brain psychology, it can be like, all right, no more eating for the rest of the day. I've off, everything, so I don't need to eat anymore. So your body actually might reduce its hunger or cravings that way. Number 64. This one is so important, but so overlooked. And I'm telling you that things changed for me when I got in better control of this. I'm actually not perfect with sleep, but I need to get better with it. But getting enough sleep can really help. Because if you have bad sleep, your stress hormone goes up, your hunger hormones go up, and your fullness hormones go down. So you're going to crave high-calorie, sugary foods, and you're just going to crave more foods in general, so you're just going to probably end up eating more. And a lot of times, you're going to want to eat the high-calorie, unhealthy stuff. So getting a good amount of sleep is going to keep these hormones in check a lot better. 7 to 9 hours a night, by the way. Number 65, eat fiber-rich foods to stay fuller longer. I've been mentioning this throughout the whole video, but fiber, it slows down your digestion, stabilizes your blood sugar, so, crash your energy, and it reduces your overall appetite. You can eat a lot of vegetables, and it would be very hard to gain weight off of legumes, oats, whole grains. Number 66, delay cravings for 10 to 15 minutes. They can pass. If you just get a strong craving, it hits you like a wall out of nowhere. Give it some time, okay? I know it's hard to resist. I know it's hard to stop yourself. But many of these cravings just come in waves. They're just these short-lived impulses triggered by random stress or boredom. And by the end of it, you may realize, hey, I was not even hungry. That was kind of weird. I know it's weird. It's kind of strange. But a lot of times, especially if you drink water during this time that you're waiting, you actually realize I was not actually that hungry, and it's just stress or like boredom or something. But just give it time to pass. It comes in waves. 67. I'm just gonna really drive this point. Skipping meals can lead to binging. I didn't really add that second part last time. Skipping breakfast or lunch, especially if you're trying to make up for overeating the day before or the meal before or whatever you did, it can backfire. because then your hunger can be uncontrollable later, and then you just end up eating way more than you would have initially if you just stuck to the plan. So eat balanced meals throughout the day. Don't skip things. Just stay on track as best as you can. Again, consistency is key. It doesn't have to be perfect if you mess up. Just don't take it personal and just keep going with your plan. All right. 68. If you have trigger foods, if you, in spite of what I said, if you still have them in the house or you live with family members that have them in the house, put them in hard to reach spots. Maybe ask the people in your family, put them somewhere that's not very accessible or not very visible. So have them somewhere inconvenient. All right. This will make it to where it's not so easy to grab, or if you're going for the healthy stuff, you're not just going to see the unhealthy stuff right in sight. Number 69, try herbal teas to curb appetite between meals. I actually haven't tried this one myself, even though I've wanted to. For a reason, these warm, calorie-free teas satisfy your and your stomach when you're not truly hungry but want to eat something. I don't know too much about this one, so I'm not going to go on too long about this one here, but I hear it can be helpful, so give it a shot if you struggle with like hunger and cravings. Number 70, distractions. Oh my gosh, this is a game changer too, all right? This is huge. Distract yourself with a little walk, a call, or a task, or even just like a video game or a TV show or something. Try to stay out of your kitchen too. Cravings fade very quick when you are not bored and when you cannot think about these food items because your mind is already occupied. If your mind's preoccupied, you're not going to be stuck thinking about these other things. So just try to keep yourself distracted as much as you can. You may not be able to do it all the time, but the more distracted you are, the less chance you'll have these big sudden cravings. Number 71, plenty of water. This one you've probably heard a million times in your middle school health class or wherever. Staying hydrated, it can just help you with your energy, your digestion. You'll feel fuller with your meals. And your body is just always using water. It's just good to have. Your body runs on water. Water is very important. You cannot live more than a few days without it. So it's very important for your body function and whatnot. So 8 to 10 cups a day, more if you're active. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to kind of that stuff. All right, liquid calories. These are terrible. And I'd say most Americans, this is one of the main issues with another thing is like processed food. So like chips and stuff, you can eat a very low amount of chips, not feel full, and have a ton of extra calories. But these sodas too. If someone's drinking like 6 soda a day, right, and they're 200 calories each, that's 1,200 calories. That can easily kill a deficit. Very easily. And it can actually create a surplus, and a lot of Americans gain a lot of weight on sodas like this. So if you're going to drink sodas or coffees, try to drink the very low calorie or 0 calorie versions. A lot of people stay away from it because of chemicals or whatever stuff scares them. No. You should be fine unless you're drinking a ridiculous amount of it. So you want to choose water, black coffee, unsweetened drinks, or even if you really struggle, then choose a diet soda or something. It's gonna be the end of the world, and the regular stuff is way worse for you, all right? I don't care what study you show me, what you say, until there is very clear evidence, then you should be fine. 73, try infused water with your mint or cucumber. If plain water bores you, flavor it naturally. Add some lemon to it, add some berries, add some herbs. And that kind of encourages you to drink more water, then go for it. I mean, shot. And I mean, if it comes to worse, even use those like 0 flavor packets. A lot of them have vitamins in them that can help you out. So, yeah. So, natural flavoring doesn't work, then you can always turn to a slightly more processed stuff. But whatever helps you get more water intake too. As long as it's still, like good. 74. If you drink coffee, you'll want to do black coffee or with very low amounts of cream or sugar. Because if you just get like a latte or frappuccino, not even like a one or something over the top, it can be 200 to 500 extra calories. Like, that's a whole meal or a snack or something. Keep coffee simple to enjoy the benefits without the sugar spike. Try to find other ways to sweeten it. Use maybe cinnamon or stevia or something else. Doesn't spike up your calories like crazy. Or just skip it altogether. I actually don't like coffee at all. I've tried it a couple times in ways, and I just can't enjoy it. So I just skip that one. 75. Avoid alcohol when dieting. I mean, good for your habit anyways. It's just a bad habit to have just in life. But dieting, it's even worse. It makes your judgment bad and it adds a lot of calories. So you end up getting more likely to overeat because you have less determination when you drink alcohol. It just has that effect on your mind. And it has empty calories, aka you get those calories in and you don't even feel full off of them. It doesn't even feel like you ate or drank anything. If you do drink it, try to keep it minimal. Portion size is the key. So if you do want to still have some of it, just lower your amount if it's not already. All right. 0-calorie drinks sparingly. They're fine in moderation. Diet soda and flavored water are okay. And for me, I actually am completely fine with it. But with a lot of people, these artificial sweeteners can affect appetite. And I guess your gut health too. But with appetite, it can make you crave a lot more because if you get these artificial sweeteners, it may have your brain constantly wanting something sweet over and over and over again. And you don't want to get stuck whenever you eat. You're going to want something very sweet and you don't want to get stuck in that. With me, I'm able to drink diet soda and usually be fine. In fact, it usually helps me stick to a diet better because a lot of times I do crave something sweet and that kills the craving. But for some people, it can make it worse. So just if it works for you, that's great. If 0-calorie drinks need to be, high for you, then hey, just cut back on them. 77. Starting your day with water. Usually after you weigh yourself. If you weigh yourself in the morning, or if there's days you weigh yourself in the morning, do it before you follow this tip. If you follow it, start your day with a tall glass of water, okay? Your body. And when I say jumpstarts your metabolism, it doesn't make your metabolism much quicker, but it kind of just started up for the day. And you may realize you're not as hungry as you thought you were, and you're just dehydrated. Because if you don't drink anything throughout the night, you know how you wake up in the middle of the night and you're very thirsty? You're usually dehydrated. So when you wake up in the morning, and if you didn't drink any water throughout the night, you might have a similar feeling, and you might be like, wow, this hunger is very strong, when maybe it's just your hydration, really. 78. Don't fall for quote-unquote healthy stuff or juices from cafes. Even McDonald's tried doing this. They put things like apple slices on their menu, and they're like, see, our menu's healthy. Or and it ended up being Go-Gurt with a ton of sugar, but they were like, yeah, it's yogurt. It's not processed oil and french fries. And no, right? Many contain fruit juices or yogurts or syrups or nut butters such as peanut butter, and that can add up to a lot of calories. So it's just better to make your own. Of course, you can find options that can it's just less risk if you just make it your own. And it can be a lot cheaper for you, so why not? But a lot of the quote-unquote healthy items from menus are kind of fall for their trick. Not as healthy as they want you to think. 79. I've seen some data online that says green tea can help boost metabolism slightly. The effects are mild, so it's not like you're going to drink green tea and burn 1,000 extra calories a day or burn an extra pound every week or whatever. But it can give antioxidants, and that may support fat burning, but you must combine it with a good diet and exercise. You can't just have a bad diet and drink green tea and be fine, right? So it can just help you out a little bit, and over a very long term, it might actually do a good amount of work for you. So give it a shot. If you choose liquid calories, which I don't recommend, track them, all right? Those calories are going to be the same as food calories, all right? Even healthy drinks, though, like almond milk or protein shakes or whatever you drink, carries calories. So log them just like your meals to stay accurate, because at the end of the day, it's calories. If you overdo your calories, you will not lose weight. So those liquid calories do count, and they add up very easily, so you have to be careful. 81. Don't label foods as good or bad. Of course, it's fine to look at complex carbohydrates and be like, yeah, that's a healthier carbohydrate, but don't say, oh, that's a good carb and that's a bad carb, right? Because this can create very guilty things. Like if you decide to eat kind of carbohydrates, or, you might feel guilty after. You're like, oh, I just ate a bad food. And then you're going to want to restrict yourself. And then the problem is you restrict yourself and your hormones get all messed up and you get really hungry and you end up binging on more of that unhealthy food. And then you feel guilty and restrict again. And it's that endless cycle, right? Instead, try to replace them with different words. If you have to assign a term to them at all, you could just say refined carb or complex carb or processed carb or whatever. But you could say every day versus sometimes. So, for example, you could look at some fruit and be like, oh yeah, that's like food. And you could look at like a bar and be like, that's a sometimes food, right? Just based on how they support your goals. Because when you say good or bad, you end up feeling really guilty for eating the quote unquote bad stuff. And then it has you restricting yourself way too far, which has you craving the quote unquote bad foods way too much. So, yeah. 82. You need to accept that some days won't be perfect, and that's fine. If you have one day where you and you don't do everything right, it's not going to erase your entire progress. Now, of course, you need to be careful with how many off days you have, but if you have one off day like every month or every 3 months or something, you need to get back on track. The idea is, like I said earlier, just don't take it too personally and just get back on track your meal or your next day or whatever. Being 100% perfect is just not how it works. And you've probably heard people say this before, but humans are not just machines. Like, we're not going to just do everything one way, this exact way, and be expected to do it that way every time. We're going to change up a little bit or do something that's not as perfect all the time. We all make mistakes. No one's perfect. So, yeah. 83. On behaviors, not just numbers on the scale. Celebrate the fact that you meal prepped, or that you have been logging consistently, or you are hitting your workouts consistently. You can build these habits and long-term success, not just weight changes, all right? Because if you're meal prepping perfectly, consistently logging your foods and hitting workouts, but your scale on the, or your weight on the scale doesn't change very much, and you just get rid of all those other great habits you built up, it's terrible, right? Just because of one thing, and that was your weight. All you have to do is slightly change up what you're doing, right? Maybe eat a little less calories or exercise a little more, and you might start losing weight again. Or you're just plateauing for a second and your weight's going to start dropping again, you know? A lot of things. So don't just look at the number on the scale and let it drive your motivation. Of course, you can use that as something to track your progress, but there are other habits and other things that are very good for your long-term success that you don't want to throw away just because you don't see weight changes all the time. All right. Number 84. Use non-scale victories to track your progress. So, kind of to the one before, look at improvements in how you feel. Like, do you feel a lot more energy? Are your clothes fitting a lot better on you because you have less fat and more muscle or something? Getting stronger, or are you getting more endurance and doing better with your workouts? Not just the scale, right? Number 85. Weigh yourself consistently, but not obsessively. Some people do it like 2 or 3 times a day, and some people may even do it daily. You can weigh yourself daily, but if you're someone who that kind of creates a more obsessive feeling, then weigh yourself once a week or even once every 2 weeks. Weigh-ins are useful trends over a long period of time. Like I said, they're a trend. It's not just a thing that you go day to day with. But weight can fluctuate due to water or just whatever the body's doing with its bodily functions, you know? You don't know what's happening. But use your averages and patterns. Look at a single month or 2-month period. Don't just look at one day and something changes the next day to change your whole diet and your whole exercise routine. You want to look at things consistently, not just day to day, right? 86. Journal your eating habits or moods to find patterns. If this helps you, track how you feel when you eat. It helps identify if you emotionally eat, or if you eat out of boredom, or if you eat out of stress. It can also help you realize what emotions make you eat, how you eat or whatever, and what stresses you out that makes you want to eat. So if this helps you, you can track down this stuff and find what patterns kind of with you and or at least identify it when it happens. 87. Build your routine around your meals, all right? Try to have maybe the same breakfast daily, or having go-to meals can really help your decision making and reduce your stress. And you can stay consistent when you have this routine that you follow all the time, and then you make habits out of it and you get very used to it and you just keep going with that habit, right? Number 88. Practice mindful eating. Focus on taste, texture, and fullness, right? When you slow down and you're more mindful of what you're actually eating, you can engage your senses better, and you can just naturally eat less and feel more satisfied. Even if you're not eating the super palatable, foods, you can still find other ways to have very high satisfaction as long as you really pay attention to your senses, eat less, and just kind of engage with what you're doing. 89. Limit your exposure to social media with stuff. Of course, it's good to use accounts kind of like me that would educate and inspire, but not just ones that is like people bragging or flexing or people just spreading lies or showing, physique that they are doing some crazy unhealthy things to reach. Your journey is personal to you, right? Follow accounts that educate you and inspire you, right? I try to be an account like that and tries to inspire you, not ones that make you feel guilty about yourself. Like, oh, wow, look how healthy I'm doing. Look how good I'm doing. You should do what I'm doing. And if you're not, then wow, that's sad. Like, no, terrible. Your journey is personal to you. And if you start comparing yourself to all these other people, you might just feel inferior, and it's going to just make you feel really down about yourself. So a lot of these social media groups, it's just good to stay away from. Number 90, reward yourself, but with non-food treats for progress. All right. If you are doing great, buy some new workout gear that makes your workouts more fun or just different, or take a little bit of a break, or something fun for yourself. Don't just be like, oh, wow, I've done a great job. I'm going to eat a cake as a reward. Or, wow, I did a great job. I'm going to go to an all-you-can-eat buffet. Do other things. Like, oh, wow, I'm doing a good job. I'm going to go to this amusement park. Now, I know amusement parks have a lot of processed foods and stuff, so maybe not even that would work. But, like, you can find workarounds. Or you could just, go to a fun movie and just be careful of your diet choices there. Something fun to reward yourself with that isn't just, like, some unhealthy, super processed junk food or something. 91. And I do every single time I go to a restaurant. Look up their menus beforehand and plan what you're going to order. A lot of restaurants don't have nutrition facts, but if they do, even better, because their nutrition facts are usually going to be roughly accurate to what you order. Not perfect, but roughly accurate, and so you'll be able to track it better. But even if not, you can get kind of an idea of the nutritional value of different foods that you usually get, and you can kind of up to looking at restaurant menus. All right. So if you see like fried for something, you'll know that, hey, I should probably avoid that. It's fried. Or if you see like French fries on the sides and then you see like steamed, you should just get probably the steamed vegetables, because the French fries is just very unnecessary, especially if you're already getting an entree that you might enjoy. So try to look up restaurant menus beforehand and kind of what you're going to order. So then when you're in the restaurant, you're A, less impulsive, and B, just more prepared. You already know what's healthy. You already know what you're going to go for. So yeah, I went to a restaurant today and I looked up my order beforehand and made choices based off that. Now, tracking it may not be perfect, like I said, but it'll help you out and you'll stay much more consistent. 92. This one's big. Volume eating. Even at parties, this can work, or events. Try to load up your plate with like salads, vegetables, or lean proteins, because if you're eating like these dips or this like fried, or whatever people are offering, I don't know, like freaking or something, like it's not gonna help. Vegetables have a lot of volume, and even lean proteins have a lot of volume, where you can feel full without eating a ton of calories. So use it to your advantage, and not just at parties, by the way. Use it to your advantage all the time. Whenever you want to feel fuller, use volume eating. It's very, very, and pair it with like water, a 0-calorie beverage, even better. That's more volume. Now, you can decline food from people, and that's number 93. You can do it without guilt, okay? If you're some sort of social event and someone made this dish and they were excited for people to try it, you don't have to eat to please others. If you're just like, no, I'm good right now, but thanks, or just so much, I appreciate the offer, but I'm good, that's fine. You're not being rude, you're just prioritizing your health. And as long as you don't build an ego around it and put yourself on a pedestal being like, no thanks, I would never eat something like that. Like, obviously they're obnoxious. And again, your fitness journey is personal, right? So you shouldn't be kind of other people like that or being hateful towards other people, even if you're really passive aggressive about it. Just be like, no thanks, though. That's all you got to say. And if you're at a social event where you're really expected to eat, then just try to keep your portion very small. All right. 94. This is for people that are kind of on a strict diet, especially people doing stuff like keto maybe. If you can, bringing a dish that's healthy to social events can help you out. Because if you don't know what foods will be there, or if you do know what foods will be there and they're going to be very unhealthy, and you're stuck to something like keto or whatever else, or if you just want to keep your diet very healthy and consistent, then just bring what fits your goals. Now, it can help you and do a lot of control, but some people may want to skip this. I don't know. 95. If you do indulge, don't do this restrict or skip meal tactic like I was talking about earlier, but maybe eat lighter around it. Like if you know you're having a big dinner or dessert or whatever, then try to balance it out earlier in the day. But if you fall off plan and have a big dessert or big dinner without kind of time, don't try to restrict it later. But if you do know what you're going to be doing and you plan this stuff out, then you can balance your day better and kind of plan just as consistent, and it can really help you out. Number 96. Plateaus are very normal, so don't panic. A lot of people have this issue where their fat loss will slow down for a second, and 1 week they don't lose weight or something, or weight barely goes down. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's not working all of a sudden, but I was doing everything right and I've been losing weight for so long. 1 week isn't really enough. Wait maybe 2 weeks, maybe even more, preferably. I would say wait 3 weeks or something. If you really don't see a change, then you might need to adjust your calories or have a little more activity. But if you're not losing weight for 1 week and maybe even 2 weeks, don't freak out. It may be nothing, all right? The body, like I said, works in kind of... We don't know everything and why everything happens, and you're not a machine, so you're not going to do everything a certain way all the time. But when you lose weight, your body needs less calories to maintain its weight. So you might actually have to end up lower in calories because you're ended up becoming your maintenance. So, something to keep in mind. But don't panic on your plateaus. 97. I would say like every month or every 2 months, just reassess your goals. Take a look back at your goal from the prior month and be like, all right, is this still what I want to do? As your body changes, your diet might want to change. So like, let's say you cut down on weight for 5 months. But on month 6, you're looking pretty small, you're pretty close to your goal weight and like goal or whatever. Then you're like, all right, I might want to go in a bulk now. You need to reassess and adjust your target. Because you might want to start gaining muscle now instead of losing fat and retaining your muscle. You might want to start gaining muscle. So just reassess your goals when you need to, or just look at it every month and say, am I still doing what I want to be doing? And, just aligned with whatever improvement you want to go through. 98. Slashing calories too low, big upfront deficits can really backfire long term. Extreme deficits easily lead to muscle loss. You'll burn a lot of muscle, especially if you're not getting enough protein and if you're not training. Your metabolism may slow down, especially if you lose a lot of muscle and you lose a ton of weight, and you're going to have these intense hunger issues. And on top of that, your cravings are going to be ridiculous and your hormones are going to be crazy. So emotionally, you're going to feel crazy. Your hunger is going to be through the roof with your cravings. Your metabolism is going to get slower and your muscle is going to be a lot less. And what will happen is you'll lose a ton of weight and you'll just look really tiny and you won't have much muscle. And while you may not have a lot of fat, you might just fall into old habits and regain a bunch of fat back and actually end up in a worse spot. Because a lot of times, when you don't actually make lifestyle changes and fix your habits, you're just going to binge eat back to where you were and be unhealthy again. So aim to eat the most you can while still making progress. Slow and steady really does win the race here. Of course, you can do an upfront massive deficit and lose a ton of weight really fast, and it will work. But it's going to be a lot harder to keep and hold on to and sustain. I've gone through this many times. I've had issues with disordered eating, and I'm 100% certain that this is true and that this can really cause a problem for you. So just try not to go too extreme. There are certain diet plans out there that can work for this kind of thing, but I would just try to avoid it altogether, especially if you're new to the whole thing and don't really know what you're doing or still learning. 99. Diet breaks and refeed days if needed. Now, a lot of people get the wrong idea. They think a diet break literally means just fall off a diet and eat whatever you want. And a lot of people think the same for a refeed day. Like, oh yeah, once a week I just eat whatever I want and I'll stay consistent the rest of the week. So I can indulge in the foods I like and still stay consistent. Yeah, well, it doesn't really work. Periodically increasing calories by a certain amount, usually up to maintenance, aka maintaining your weight, especially carbs, can help restore your hormones, reduce your diet fatigue, and make fat loss much more sustainable. So let's say you are white knuckle dieting, you lose 1 pound a week for 12 weeks. That's 12 pounds. Hey, that's great. You lost 12 pounds. But if you just fall off the diet entirely and just overeat, you might just gain the 12 pounds back and maybe a little more extra. So there's this tool called diet breaks where you don't eat in a deficit, but you also don't eat in a surplus. You just bring your calories up to maintenance and it'll actually reduce your diet fatigue a lot more than you think. And once you feel like you're ready to go back on your diet and you feel very motivated again to cut back down, then go off the diet break. Go back to what you're doing. And then some people do refeed days. So like they'll 1 or 2 days of the week where they'll eat more calories and then they'll eat less calories throughout the rest of the week. So they're pretty much cutting for 5 days of the week and then maintaining for 2 days of the week. And this can help with the same things. It's just a different way to do it. But just a different way to apply it. That's all. But some people find these very useful and especially in the long term can be much more sustainable. And it also gives you an idea of kind of how to maintain your weight so you're not confused. Number 100, make your diet a lifestyle. All right, not a temporary fix. I made this number 100 because it's important and I wanted to very much kind of end on this. The best diet really is just one you can stick with. There's all these influencers that go around saying, well, this diet's going to make you lose this much more weight faster, or this diet's going to be a great diet and you can just copy this and it'll work perfectly for you. But they don't realize people are different. Everyone reacts differently to different things. So build a diet that you can stick with, and that's habits you can enjoy, habits that support your life, and that habits that can follow without struggling with willpower every single day of the diet, or every hour, every minute, every second, right? Make your diet a lifestyle, right? Don't make it something temporary. Don't be like, all right, I'm going to just do a really tough diet, or I'm going to just follow this diet for 3 months or a year or whatever, lose all the weight or hit my goal and then just go back to what I was doing or enjoy my life, right? I hate to break it to you, but it just doesn't work like that. You need to find a good diet that you can stick with, that you can build habits that are enjoyable but also good to your life. Of course, it may not always be the easiest route, and it's not going to be always the most enjoyable route. But as long as you can stay consistent and you can follow it without struggling with willpower every day because you're eating way too low calories or way too low carbohydrates or whatever you're doing, then that would be great. Just follow something without a ridiculous amount of willpower and whatnot. So that's pretty much it. So now you have 100 practical, detailed dieting tips. This covers strategy. I was able to cover meals, macros, cravings, mindset, hydration, and more stuff. And they're not just rules or anything. Like, you don't have to follow each one of these like a rule, but a lot of these are just flexible tools that you can pick and choose from to help you build a sustainable, lean lifestyle that works long term for you. And that's pretty much it, you guys. One thing I want to end off on is a bit of a personal experience of mine that I've shared with you guys already, but it's that a lot of these tips are going to help you avoid disordered eating, right? I have struggled with disordered eating before, and I have to tell you, it's not fun. And almost every time I've done it, it has not worked. I would end up regaining a bunch of weight back in the end. And it just good. And my mood was always off. My hormones were out of shape ridiculously. And whenever I ate again, I had very little self-control. So I found very recently, unfortunately, that it's good to build very sustainable habits and a lifestyle that works with you. All right. For me, my choices and my lifestyle may not be the same as you. There's no one diet, or there's no one tip or 100 tips that you should always follow. Just choose things that work for you and that you can stick with and make progress with. And that's really all you need. There's no like ultimate or rule or whatever. Just At the end of the day, it's whatever works for each individual person. So there you go, guys. That's 100 tips. This was a much longer video. I'm sorry it wasn't like super or super crazy or whatever. It's just not really my goal. I'm trying to get the info out. And if you like listen to this video in the background or whatever works for you, then that's great. I'm not trying to waste anyone's time or make a video way too long or longer than it needs to be, but I wanted to put out a helpful video. So I apologize if it's not super edited or the highest of quality ever, but I just really hope this was able to help you guys out. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Might have some shorter videos coming up because this one took a long time and it was a lot of work, but I will probably make a similar video to this one in the future, probably around fitness and exercise, not just diet, and hopefully that can help you guys out too. So thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. See you guys.